Sounds good.
Welcome to the CTCL Virtual College Fair. Thanks for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to the presenter at any time. Again, the Q&A button might be at the top or at the bottom, depending on your screen layout, but you can use that at any time during the presentation to ask a question to our presenter. Your camera and microphone is off, or both of those are off, so panelists cannot see or hear you, so just get comfortable and enjoy all of the information that will be presented. This is just one of many different sessions happening. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website where you registered. I'm going to get out of the way now. All the housekeeping stuff is done and turn it over to Tyler from Wabash College.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Russ. And I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully folks can see it and go over our presentation. So my name is Tyler Wade. I am an Associate Director of Enrollment Systems at Wabash College. Wabash is a small private liberal arts college located in Crawfordsville, Indiana, which is about 45 minutes outside of Indianapolis, just about 3 hours south of Chicago. As far as me personally, before I jump into it, so I graduated from Wabash in 2012, then went to graduate school at Miami University in Ohio, earned my master's degree there from Miami, and then came back to Wabash. So this is the start of my 7th year working in college admissions. As a student at Wabash, I was really involved in lots of things on campus. So I was in a fraternity, I was part of student government, I was part of a school spirit group we have called the Sphinx Club. And I announced for our sports teams. I studied political science and religion. So I joke that I studied 2 of the 3 things you aren't supposed to talk about to strangers. But really enjoyed my experience and love working in college admissions to be able to tell students a little bit more about Wabash, to learn more about them and how the college may be a good fit for them and their goals. So really excited for folks who were able to tune into our presentation this evening. I'll be sure to try and manage the chat in the Q&A function if anybody has any questions, but otherwise I will just go ahead and jump into it. So when we talk about Wabash, we really harp on it being a place where students can learn more, earn more, lead more, and play more. And this presentation is going to go in and talk a little bit more specifically about how Wabash does just that. You can see this is a picture of our campus. That's generally what Indiana looks like for folks who haven't been to the Hoosier State yet. So definitely a really small campus. We have just about 900 students or so. At Wabash, they come from 26 different states and 19 countries. The campus sits just on 66 acres of land, so it takes about 5 minutes to walk from one end of campus to the other. And we are regularly recognized as a top 30 best value college. So it's a place that offers pretty outstanding outcomes for our graduates, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about some of the cool things that our graduates go to. But we also know that making college affordable is something that's really important to us as an institution, and it's definitely something that we offer pretty generous merit and need-based aid as well. So we focus on making sure that you get a quality education, but also focus on keeping that cost side under control. So I mentioned we talk about educating our students to learn more. We do that in a pretty rigorous liberal arts education. Now, when I say liberal arts, sometimes folks aren't as familiar with that term, though hopefully if you're on the CTCL presentation, you are going to be familiar with the liberal arts. But liberal arts is basically just a fancy word for a broad-based general education. So similar to what you do in high school, students who go to liberal arts colleges take classes in math and science and the social sciences and the humanities and the fine arts to sort of build that broad-based educational foundation. That differs from what you would do most of the time at larger state schools or research institutions, and that most of the time at those sorts of universities, you choose a specific area of study, and the majority of your time is going to be focused on that specific area of study. So they may have a liberal arts core, but it's a much more specialized sort of education. With the liberal arts, we believe that your education should be one that gives you both a breadth of knowledge, again, by touching those diversification requirements, but also that depth of knowledge for a major and a minor. We have 39 different academic programs at Wabash. Most of them are in very traditional liberal arts type fields. Now, you know, one of the things that we hear often is somebody will say, oh, well, I see that you don't have a business major. That's true. We don't have a business major at Wabash. Sort of the line that we always push back with is we don't have business majors, we just create business leaders. I think that the liberal arts is really good at helping students become better problem solvers. And I think regardless of whatever kind of career fields you go into, be that business, law, medicine, teaching, whatever, you're doing problem solving of some kind. And I think the best problem solvers are people who can take a problem and learn to approach it from multiple perspectives. And that's exactly what the liberal arts is designed to be able to have you do, right? Is to be able to be an effective problem solver. I think it also can give you a skill set that can be a little bit more transferable. So rather than having a highly specialized degree in something that is a hot job today, there's not necessarily a guarantee that 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, that's still going to be a hot job, right? But understanding economics, right, is probably going to be a skill set that is going to be useful to you, not just for that first job after college, but for all the ones that you're going to have after that. One of the stories I used to sort of illustrate this point, so 20 or 30 years ago, right, Amazon was a river in South America, right, and then it became a place where you could buy books online. Now they stream movies and TV shows. You can buy anything. They bring packages to your house by drone. They own a newspaper. That's all happened in my lifetime. And so it's important to, again, have that skill set that's going to help you play kind of the long game. We do that pretty well by trying to figure out ways that we can connect classroom learning with some sort of real world experiences through what are called our Wabash X programs. So we have 4 Wabash X programs. They are in the Center for Innovation, Business, and Entrepreneurship, the Wabash Democracy and Public Discourse Initiative, the Global Health Initiative, and Digital Arts and Human Values. Those 4 things are designed to help students, again, bridge that classroom learning with some real world experiences. So when we talk about the Center for Innovation, Business, and Entrepreneurship, or the CIBE, that's an opportunity where students apply to that program separate from their application for admission. They're accepted as CIBE fellows, and they get access to different internship opportunities with companies, some trips to meet with Wabash alumni in places like Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles. They work in teams on different projects that are designed to help them learn sort of business and entrepreneurial type skills. Some of the things that has come out of that program, so 2 students a couple years ago designed a computer program that looked through property tax records in Montgomery County, Indiana, which is the county that we're in, and helped identify a couple $1 million of tax fraud through that system. They were able, the college gave them ownership of intellectual property for that program that they had created, and they actually then sold it to different municipalities across the country to be able to kind of help, again, governments identify tax fraud. That was all a Wabash CIBE program. So really good opportunities for our graduates to get that real world experience to what it is to run a business or to be an entrepreneur. The Wabash Democracy and Public Discourse Initiative is one that is designed towards promoting democracy and public discourse, right? Hence the name. But they focus on really learning how to have productive conversations, being able to facilitate those conversations, helping groups be able to kind of draw out their ideas and be able to transform those ideas into action. One of the things that they've done on our own campus, they were really instrumental in helping design our new residence life facilities. So just a couple years ago, Wabash has pretty much either completely rebuilt or renovated all of our resident life areas, and the design process of that, the WDPD met with different stakeholders on campus to identify what were the things that people wanted to see in their living units on campus. They also have traveled across the country through that program as well. So there's a group that went to, I think it was South Dakota a couple years ago, that was working on overturning some laws in South Dakota that were inhibiting sort of women's health initiatives. So the WDPD program traveled to South Dakota, met with community stakeholders, and was able to help them work through a way to get that law changed. The last one that I'll sort of highlight among those Wabash X programs is our Global Health Initiative. Really awesome opportunity for students to be interested or involved in global health sort of writ large. So I think when folks see that at first, a lot of times they immediately think, oh, like medical missions trip. And there is some sort of component of that, right? But global health is something that touches on, in a very liberal arts way, a whole bunch of different topics, right? So it's everything from economics to political science to sociology to religion to psychology. And so the students who are involved in the Global Health Initiative come from all across the academic program, and they work on solving community health issues. One of the cool things that they're actually doing right now is they're really active in leading our college's response to COVID-19 on campus. So students who are involved in the Global Health Initiative are leaders in our what's called the Wabash Care Team. So Wabash is having classes in person on campus this semester, and student leaders work to promote sort of good health, community health choices and options within the Wabash community. And so again, that's a chance for them to be able to involved in a project promoting sort of public health. We also think it's important to note that learning happens beyond the classroom as well. So Wabash does offer what are called immersion learning courses. So we do have sort of the traditional semester-long study abroad program, right? And it's awesome to be able to do that. But if students don't want to give up that entire semester, every student is actually guaranteed the opportunity to participate in an immersion learning course. And what an immersion learning course is the student takes a class and then takes a trip, usually over fall break or spring break, and is immersed in the culture or the topic that they were studying that semester. So when I was a student at Wabash, I took a class on the politics and economics of the European Union. And over spring break, we went to Brussels, Belgium, and Frankfurt, Germany, and met with EU leaders, toured different government institutions, met with diplomats, experienced some historical sites, just saw what it was like in the European Union, right? Other groups have gone to Italy, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Peru, really good opportunities to get off campus. The cool thing about these immersion courses is they are fully funded by the college. So students don't pay for their flights, their hotel. Really, the only thing that they need to be able to go on an immersion trip may be a couple dollars for some incidental expenses, or maybe a meal or two that they purchase on their own. So really awesome ways to expand the classroom and to be able to take that classroom learning to areas off of campus. You know, one of the things that we like to highlight within Wabash is sort of our rankings. We're pretty proud of how we get ranked in the Princeton Review and U.S. News and World Report. This is just a handful of rankings that are pretty impressive. We've touched on some of the classroom experience pieces, which I will just highlight again. So we were ranked 4th for most accessible professors, and this is in the country, right? So schools all across the United States. Number 4 for most accessible professors, number 8 for professors get high marks, and number 19 for best classroom experience. Those are all the things that are important to what it is that you're doing at college, right? Is that classroom learning experience. All of our classes at Wabash are taught by professors that have a terminal degree in their field. We don't have any teaching assistants at Wabash. For folks who are familiar with how faculty hiring and promotion works, the way that faculty members get hired and promoted, they're generally assessed at all colleges by in three ways. So they look at their research, their teaching, and their service. And different kinds of colleges will put a greater emphasis on a different area within those. So larger research institutions, the thing that's most important to them often is the faculty members' ability to produce original research. That's why lots of times the classes at larger institutions are taught by teaching assistants, because the professor's main job is to apply for grants and to produce and create original research. So their ability as a teacher is not as important in the way that they are reviewed for hiring and promotion. Now, they still obviously do teach some classes, right? There are some service components to that, but what's most important to them is their ability to be a researcher. At Wabash, we place the greatest emphasis on our professors as teachers. So if you are not an effective teacher, you will not be given tenure or will not be promoted at Wabash. So it's really important that our faculty are outstanding teachers in the classroom. They do research and do involve students in that research as well, but their primary output is as teachers, and I think these rankings are indicative of that. In terms of how classes look like at Wabash in general, so our average class size is pretty small, so our average class size is about 11. I think we have a 13-to-1 student-faculty ratio or so. Most classes are pretty heavily discussion-based, so lots of reading, lots of writing. Most of the time you'll be sort of seated around a seminar table and talk to your classmates and the professor about the reading that you had done the night before. We very seldom, if ever, will do a multiple choice exam at Wabash. Most of the time you'll be given a blue book or a green book and asked to sort of fill it in with what it is you know about the subject. The second half of this slide that I'll sort of highlight, and we're going to talk a little bit about how this connects to that earning more piece, is the fact that we're ranked #1 for the alumni network in the country, #1 for internship opportunities, and #7 for a career services office in the country. Obviously, the goal of college, one of the goals of college is to go out and find a job, right, or be admitted into graduate or professional school. Our alumni are super excited about Wabash and go out of their way to help our students be able to build connections, whether that is through looking for internship opportunities or full-time employment after Wabash. And our career services office works with students from the time, really even before they come on campus as first-year students, to work on building their resume and making sure that our campus jobs are set up in such a way that they can be the kinds of things that students can put on a resume when they apply for internship and job opportunities. And so that's really what Wabash is all about. And really the goal, right, is to expand students' opportunities, expand their horizon, and make sure that they are getting a job after the time that they go to college. So we've talked a little bit about learning more. We're also going to talk about earning more. So this is where some of those outcomes come into play, and I'll just highlight a few of them. So for the class of 2019, 87% of them had secured a first destination job at commencement. That number had gone up to 99% within 6 months after commencement, and that's with a 100% knowledge rate. And the only reason why that's not 100 is there was one student who was trying to decide between multiple offers. So it's pretty remarkable, right? We know what our students are doing and are committed to being able to make sure that they aren't just moving back in with their parents, but they are going out and finding a job after that. Another thing that I want to highlight on this slide is that 88% of our students had a summer internship this summer, which is insane considering that COVID-19 was going on and internships were being sort of shut down and taken away all across the country. The Wabash community really rallied around this and made sure that our students still had the opportunity to be able to find internships during what is this really strange time in America. There's some salary data that you'll see here on the screen as well that talk about sort of the mid-career salary of Wabash graduates, the early career salary of a Wabash graduate, the return on the investment of a Wabash education. But the three other things that I'll highlight is, and I sort of touched on this earlier, our graduates go into lots of different areas for employment, but business, law, and medicine tend to be the big three. And this is shown by the fact that 1 in 10 of our graduates is an executive at the company that they work for. We have an 88% acceptance rate into law school, which is well above the national average. and we have a 94% acceptance rate into medical school, which is about twice the national average. So, you know, we take that sort of graduate and professional school advising pretty seriously. We have dedicated employees to be able to help students in their law school and medical school application process and the results, so to speak, for themselves in terms of those acceptance rates. So we are seeing lots of success in what it is that our graduates go on to be able to do. This just sort of highlights some of the places that our graduates have gone on to work at, or some of the places that they have interned at most recently. So you'll see everything from nationally recognized brands like Eli Lilly, which is a pharmaceutical company, Microsoft, Google, and Goldman Sachs. You'll also see, pardon me, more local ones like the Orr Fellowship, which is an Indiana-based fellowship program that places recent college graduates in startup companies as well. We also had somebody that worked at the NFL. And then some other stuff too, like you'll see the Obvious Shirts logo that's on here. Obvious Shirts is a company that's based out of Chicago, where our graduates started printing t-shirts with sort of obvious sayings on them, like Javier Baez is good at baseball. So some really cool things that are going on at really all across the country in terms of where our graduates go on and work. We talked about graduate schools a little bit, so you'll see we do have a partnership here with Notre Dame's Mendoza College of Business for their ESTEAM program, which is an entrepreneurship and STEM fields program. We also are pretty closely aligned with Indiana University's Kelley School of Business for their accounting program, and generally put students in really prestigious law and medical schools as well. So that's a little bit about sort of the career outcomes of Wabash graduates. Next, I'm going to talk about leading more. So we've gotten through learning more, earning more. We're going to talk about leading more. There are all kinds of opportunities to be able to get involved on campus. One of the things that showed up in that Princeton Review ranking is that we were ranked number 10th for having the most active student government. Wabash empowers our students to be able to make decisions about what kind of opportunities they allow students to pursue. So there are about 70 different clubs or organizations available on campus. Anything that you can think of, there probably is a club or organization for it already. But if not, it's really easy to start one. You just have to have a couple of classmates and a faculty or staff sponsor, and you can start your own organization. We give our student government about $250,000 each year to allocate in funding, which is a really strong number, especially given how small our student body is. So we definitely believe in our students and want to make sure that they have the financial resources to be able to do or to pursue the different kind of leadership opportunities that they want to. You'll see some other ones that are featured on here, including the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies, and then also our fraternities. So there are 10 different nationally recognized fraternities on campus. Depending on the school year, about 55 to 60% of our students are involved in fraternities. Those who are not in fraternities at Wabash are called independents, and they have their own sort of association that does programming as well. But again, these leadership opportunities are the sort of things that look really good when it comes time to applying for jobs on a resume, because you can say, if you're involved in student government, when you go to that first interview, you can talk about how you managed a $250,000 budget each year, which is something really impressive that not many 22-year-old people have gotten a chance to be able to do. The last thing I'm going to talk about is playing more. So for those who don't know, Wabash is a men's college. So you may be thinking, well, gosh, what is there to do that's fun at this small private men's college that's kind of in the middle of nowhere in Indiana? And the answer is actually there's an awful lot to be able to do. Sports is one of those things. So we have a pretty active athletics program at Wabash. We're a member of NCAA Division III, so we do not give out athletic scholarships, but our athletic teams do compete at the highest level in Division 3. You can see we have 12 varsity sports on campus. We just added men's volleyball, which will start competition in the 2021 school year. We've had 778 all-conference performances in the last decade, 21 conference championships in that time, and 10 individual national championships in that time. About half of our students participate in varsity athletics. If you're interested in pursuing athletics, you can go to sports.wabash.edu and fill out a sports-specific inquiry form, and that will go directly to our coaches, and they can, we'll be back in touch with you about our athletic program. One of the other things that we talk about is our students having the opportunity to be involved in areas outside of the classroom. So you can see everything from traditions. So one of our big traditions each year is the Monon Bell game, which is our football rivalry with DePaul University. We play each other for a 300-pound railroad bell, and about 10,000 people come to that, which makes it one of the largest programs, or one of the largest well-attended sporting events in NCAA Division III each year. We are ranked in the top 10 for having lots of Greek life on campus. We've talked about the opportunity to be involved in fraternities. This is all a long way of saying, I think if you're bored at Wabash, it's because you are boring, right? Or you're not going out of your way to try and find ways to be able to get involved. There's always a club meeting that's going on campus. There are all kinds of speakers, art exhibition, plays, recitals, really anything going on kind of every day on campus. It's up to you to be able to seek out those opportunities, but I can guarantee you that you'll be able to find them. I mentioned that we are pretty centrally located as well. So Indianapolis is just 45 minutes away. Indianapolis is the 16th largest city in the country. So all kinds of shopping, dining, amateur sport, and entertainment options in Indianapolis as well. A couple things that I will highlight, and then I'll kind of turn it over for questions from you all. This is just a slide that talks about sort of the admissions and financial aid side of things. October 1st on Thursday is when the FAFSA opens. November the 15th is our early decision deadline. December 1st is the early action deadline. And January 15th is the regular decision deadline. Our application is open now. You can apply via the Wabash application or the Common application. On top of that application for admission, we require an official transcript from your high school. You'll see on here test scores. Wabash is test optional for the 2020-21 school year because we recognize that students may not have enough opportunities to be able to take standardized tests. So we're test optional for this year, and then we are always written statement or essay optional. I mentioned before that Wabash offers really generous merit and need-based scholarships. We make publicly available our scholarship grid and on our website on the sources of aid page, pardon me. So you can go and find where your standardized test scores or GPA intersect, and then I'll tell you how much merit money you can, or that you will qualify for. If students do not present test scores, we will sort of use our best judgment to evaluate the kinds of classes the student has taken, the grades that they've gotten in their college preparatory classes, and be sure that we award them a scholarship that is fair for them based on their merit. The Wabash College Lily Award is our full ride tuition free kind of all bells and whistles scholarship. That's a competitive application process that's separate from your application for admission. And we typically give out about 3 Lily Awards each year. We do offer really generous Wabash grants or Wabash need-based assistance as well. Our college has sort of had a long-standing commitment as an institution for cost not being what gets in the way of students being able to come to Wabash. So we do try and offer really generous need-based assistance, and then we try to maximize students for state and federal grants and student loans as well. Sort of the parting thing that I'll leave you with, we talked again about that outcomes piece. Only one college in the nation made the list that you see below, and that's Wabash College. And we're pretty proud of that and the opportunities that we're able to provide our students. I think that it's a really an awesome college and someplace that is worth students definitely taking a greater look at. So that's the end of my formal presentation. I see that we have one question in here that is asking for my contact information. I will go ahead and put that, I will answer that here in the Q&A so that you can see that as well. Oh, I guess it didn't let me do that. So my name is Tyler Wade. My email address is wadet@wabash.edu. And my phone number is 214-531-3327. So wadet@wabash.edu. Cell phone number is 214-531-3327. I have a question here about the PPE program. Really good question. So the philosophy, or PPE stands for philosophy, politics, and economics. Wabash is one of the only small liberal arts colleges that actually offers a PPE program or a PPE major. I think this is the second full year that we have had PPE on the books at Wabash, and I've heard really awesome response from that. Lots of students indicated that they were interested in pursuing sort of an academic program of interest in PPE. It's frankly something that, had it been available when I was a student, I probably would have been a PPE major, because those things are definitely super interesting. Dakota, if you have some specific questions about PPE, I would be happy to answer them for you as well, or be able to put you in touch with a faculty member that will be able to talk about that program a little bit more. The other thing that I think I can do is I will drop in here a link to our website where it talks about the PPE program on our academic majors page. So let me do that really quick here. Okay, so the information about the PPE program is at that link that I had just sent out. Are there any other questions that folks have, or things that you all are curious about or want to know more about as it relates to Wabash? And I'll be sure again to, again, my email address is wadet@wabash.edu. My phone number is 214-531-3327. I actually am a regional admissions counselor, so I am based in Dallas, Texas. So really enjoy being down here. I have a little bit of opportunity to be able to get and meet folks out for coffee and stuff every now and then, which is exciting as well. We do have some really good visit opportunities coming up. There is, I think even later tonight, a virtual preview program that is going on. You can go to wabash.edu/visit and find out more about sort of those virtual visit opportunities. There are ways for students to be able to set up personalized visits, both virtually and in person. We are allowing a small number of in-person visitors to come to campus currently. And so there'll be more information about that. There are also opportunities where students can see what sort of virtual classes are going on and find ways to be able to sit in on those classes as well. So that's at wabash.edu/visit. But some other great resources for folks to be able to check out. Are there any other questions at all? I know we are getting close to time. I'll give it a little bit to see if anybody else has anything else that they would like to ask. And then I'm sure Russ will let us know if there's a protocol, if we have to stay open until 45 past the hour, or if we can let folks go a little bit early. But really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us this evening and to learn a little bit more about Wabash, and hopefully that gave you a good overview of what it is that we're about. I don't see any other questions coming in. So again, thanks so much for, oh, there is one. Here we go. So another question, do you know if wrestling will be at Wabash in the near future? My suspicion is very strong that yes, the wrestling program will be around for the long haul at Wabash. Wabash is a very strong wrestling program. We pretty consistently finish in the top 10, top 5 in NCAA Division III in wrestling. In fact, we have a young man who graduated a couple of years ago who was a 4-time national champion in his weight class, never lost to another Division III wrestler. We have really nice wrestling facilities. So one of our trustees is a man named Donald Shelbourne. He is in charge of the Shelbourne Clinic, which is a knee repair, a knee surgery center in Indianapolis. He pioneered one of the leading ACL repair surgeries in the country, donated money for that wrestling facility. So they have their standalone wrestling facility. So it is something that is a strong team for us, and something that I definitely do think will be around for a while. Do I know of anyone taking ROTC at Purdue? I do know a couple folks who are involved in that. So this is our first year of our ROTC partnership with Purdue University. I think there are about half a dozen students or so who are involved in ROTC. So they take their military science classes for that program and participate in the leadership opportunities with the Purdue ROTC company. So if you have questions about the ROTC, Dakota, be sure to email me. I can put you in contact with Paul Heslin, who is our recruiting contact up at Purdue with their ROTC program. But thank you for asking that. Any other questions? I'll get a quick drink of water. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time. I will let Russ sort of wrap us up, but again, really appreciate you all being with us this evening.
Thanks, Tyler, and thank you to everyone for joining us for this session. When you close this window from this virtual session, you'll get a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is one of many sessions being hosted. Make sure you sign up for additional ones at the same website you signed up for this one. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings, again, at the same website where you signed up. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Have a good rest of your afternoon/evening. Take care.